Welcome to Kinky Knots Cafe Proactive is the Way, where we provide you tools and resources to enhance your mind, body, and spirit. Get ready, folks. Let us nurture you from the inside out.
All right. Hello there, my friends. We have a treat for you today. Tiffany has joined us for the new season. And guess what, folks? She is actually here in Dayton, Ohio, although busier than ever because I barely see her. She's in and out in a hot second. How's it going, Tiffany?
It's going good.
It's
How are you? Well, even in the same home, I barely see you. So
I know it's so
let's
terrible.
start there.
It is so terrible. I stay cooped up in the room doing all types of nonsense, mostly exercising. Every time she come in, she like, "You exercising
I need to these jello looking legs.
again?" Girl, I'm working on mine. Got to get them.
Get it right. Get it right. Get it tight.
I know that's right. I know that's right. Well, so happy to have you. It's been a while. With
So happy to be back
yes, yes.
for season two.
Yeah, for season two, can you believe we made it? I was like, I am just so happy that we
Here
were,
we are.
yeah, get done with season one because I think I shared with you most folks don't make it past what is it, episode five, episode
I know. I think you said something. It was
very low.
it was premature.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like they don't give it a chance, and so they stop and they quit prematurely, especially if the numbers aren't there. And so I kept telling some of the individuals I interviewed, I was like, I didn't care about numbers. I just cared about this particular endeavor, it, gaining knowledge and being able to share knowledge. So I was doing this more so for me and for those who I could potentially help. And then getting it done. That is the hardest part, just getting it done. So I'm so proud of us that we were able to get it done. So, what did you think about our season last year?
Well, starting, yeah, it was positive.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that that is what we should seek and align ourselves with is the most positive aspects of our existence, of our plight, so to speak. And so I think that, our persistence and our discipline and your commitment, to wanting to do this, even if we're making just small change, we're making a change.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
we'll try it again season two.
I know. I said you say small change, but really and truly, if you can touch one, is is my motto. If we can just touch
True.
one,
That's true.
you don't know how impactful that can be because that one we touch might be the key to spreading
Mhm.
like wildfire. Um, but here we are. We're now with regards to our last season. Did you find any areas where you felt like we could have improved?
Well, there simply are no absolutes, right?
Mhm.
So there is always room for improvement. There's nothing that is imperfect. That's an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
We're
So,
led to believe that things are existing and participating at some higher level, but all in all, it's really just a creation of our minds. And ultimately what it'll lead us to is that whatever it is that we believe, whatever it is that we create,
mm-hmm.
um, it's just as equally as important as those things that others make us believe are so important. But yeah. So.
Yeah, yeah, there's definitely no absolutes. Perfectionism, from my perspective, we can always progress towards. But if we were perfect, would we ever seek for improvement, further development, right?
Good point.
Right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So it's so important that we recognize that we are a constant evolution. And
Right.
it talks about the importance of evolving and adapting. And if we don't learn to adapt and change, grow, become better, we die, right? But one thing I will share with you with regards to our last season, one thing that I did notice was that you and we were always echoing each other, which is to be expected because we come from the same household. We grew up together, right? We had some differences, but I kept feeling like a lot of times we were saying the same thing. And something in me stirred so bad. It really made me think that, while what we're doing is good, it can also be a dangerous practice. And I say that because ignorance, if you think about ignorance, where it comes from, it breeds in silos when we stay confined within our community. Not to say that community is a bad thing. Being within a community is a bad thing. It's definitely a good thing. We should always seek community. But when we are within our community, we also need to seek different perspectives as well, right? And so I just kept thinking about, when we are always associating with like-minded people and don't, as Ray shared, seek the advice, or I would say acquire a perspective from credible people who can challenge you and have thoughtful discussions. Uh, you will become a reflection of the other. They call it an echo. And without even recognizing it, you will create this mind coalescence in which I call the Borg mentality. Do you recall the Borgs? The Borg from
Well,
Star Trek?
oh,
You remember that?
I thought you were saying something else.
No,
Uh,
the Borg. Do you remember it was an alien species?
no, I remember the species, the characters off of, but their mentality, I don't think I remember.
You don't remember? So let me tell you about the Borg. The Borg, and it's not Borgs, it was an alien species called the Borg, okay, singular. It was an alien group that continuously appeared as the enemy to all other alien species. And the Borg, they were these cybernetic organisms, also known as cyborgs. And they were all linked in a hive mind. Have you ever heard of that concept, hive mind? Also
Mhm.
called the collective. And
Okay.
yes, yes. So the Borg, they would infiltrate other alien species, or I'm going to, so that we have something to associate it with, say, cultures, and forcibly assimilate and transform others into drones, essentially augmenting their minds until they had the perfect Borg society. And if you ever watch them, and I don't know if you remember the characters, they were all dark. They all looked alike. They thought alike. They behaved alike, even in their movement. Right? They possessed no identity, had no free will, and we would classify them as possessed or mind controlled is the appropriate term, as extensions of this hive mind. Now, does this sound familiar, like within our day to day?
I was just getting ready to say that.
Were
I said,
you?
well, hell, that's what's going on now.
That's Tiffany. That is what I keep noticing. Oh my goodness, you guys.
I gotta do a lot more reading because I really want to understand, like, just globally, just nationally, what is going on
Yeah.
with that
Yeah. Well,
concept of a mind, like that kind of mind concept that and I'm so tired of want us to have.
who is they, as Dave Chappelle
Right.
says? Who they?
We'll save that for the tangential mind
Yes.
section. What I was about to say about that segment. I'm sorry, the tangential mind segment, because yeah, that is what's going on today.
It is, and it's scary, Tiffany. From my perspective, I'm walking around and I'm like, what is going on? Is everybody drinking the same Kool-Aid? And what flavor is it? Because I don't want to drink it. Like, like but anyway, but you gotta watch it. If you haven't, folks, if you have not watched Star Trek, I'm sure it's on YouTube by now. They got replays somewhere. But go watch, and just any episode with the Borg in it, just watch it and ask yourself, does this feel familiar? It's very interesting. All right. Okay, so earlier this month, I launched our new season and conducted an overview of our featured book, Principles by Ray Dalio. And we already provided an overview of UOU by Eric Thomas. If you missed either one, and please check out our season 1, episodes 7 and 8, our series on I Got Standards, and season 2, episode 1, Principles. In our efforts to improve diversity of thought on our show over the last 2 weeks, I have been busy wrapping up interviews with guests for the upcoming season. We have a very nice lineup of people from different backgrounds and perspectives scheduled for the year. Let me tell you, folks, do not miss out on this season. It's going to be awesome. This week, I had a chance to connect with Genevieve Piturro and discuss principles. Let's take a listen.
This is what I know for sure. Everybody comes to our beautiful planet Earth, and it is beautiful if you saw our show on Friday, to do something great, something unique, something that only you were born to do, only you can give. So what is your calling? I definitely know what mine is, and this show is about helping all of you who are watching us to think about and then figure out, because that's your real job, to figure out what is your calling and then begin to honor it. Hundreds of people in this audience have a reason to be proud because they can't wait to tell you about it. It all happened in less than 7 days, and you're going to find out what they did a little later. But first, I want you to take a look at some of these beautiful faces. Many of these children don't have a home of their own or a parent to tuck them into bed at night. And these are children living in the USA. After meeting them, one woman came up with a very simple idea to honor her own calling and to bring comfort into the lives of these children. So her name is Genevieve Piturro. Coming up.
All right, Miss Genevieve Piturro.
Ready, Jaya.
Welcome to Kinky Knots Cafe. Proactive is the way. I am so happy to have you here. I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself.
Okay, I'd be happy to. As you may have read, I was a corporate exec for over 12 years because I always thought that was success. Climbing the corporate ladder, woman in a man's world. For me, that was the television business in New York City. And I always wanted to reach that corner office. I always wanted to be in New York. I wanted to be free and single and a workaholic, actually, because I thought that was exciting. And I thought that was status and would get me where I wanted to be. And I did that. I followed that path for 12 years. And then one afternoon, a very quiet afternoon while I was alone, which was rare, I heard a voice in me ask me, if this is the next 30 years of your life, is this enough? And that stopped me cold. And I realized that my parents very Italian traditional. Thought I'd, grow up and get married and have kids, but that wasn't my path. But in that moment, I thought maybe there was something there that I missed. And I realized very soon it was having children in my life. So I started reading in emergency shelters where the police and the social workers would take children who were being hurt by those that they were living with. And I went there and I read stories at night. And one night I followed to where these precious little children who were, in harm's way and thankfully safe in the moment, I followed to where they were sleeping, and they were huddled together in a very bare room, holding on to each other. Some of them were crying. They were in the same clothes they'd been wearing for I don't know how long, but those clothes were soiled and tight, and they were squirming. And I kept thinking of my bedtime and seeing those pictures in my mind of my mom tucking us in and how loving and, calming that was. And of course, we were in our pajamas in my memories. Mm-hmm. And I asked if I could bring some pajamas for the children next week because they were sleeping in those clothes and I didn't know how they would have a good night. Never mind wake up feeling good and refreshed. They were going to be probably more frightened than ever waking up there. So I brought pajamas the next time and I started handing them out after I read to the children. And most of the children just took them quietly. They were always so quiet and went into that room with their staff. But one little girl was so afraid of me, she wouldn't take the pajamas, but she was watching me give them to the other kids. And I went over to her at the end of the night because she was there, without her pajamas, just watching me. And I knelt down and I tried to give her those pajamas again. They were pink and I knew she'd like them. They would fit her. And I tried to have her touch them. She was quiet all night. And finally, I said, honey, these pajamas are for you. Why don't you try them on? And she leaned in and she asked me, Miss, what are pajamas? And that, Toya, was the beginning of the end of my life and what I was looking for. And my heart led me in a totally different direction.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is such a phenomenal story. I am truly touched by that. And I am touched to hear that you listen to that calling. Because not often we listen to the calling that is provided to us. And so I'm truly touched by that. So with regards to that, you shifted careers. You went into a completely different direction. Talk to me a little bit about, because one thing that I read on your website or that you had shared earlier was that this particular program has grown extensively to the point where you have chapters now all over the U.S. primarily. And so talk to me a little bit about that growth, the team that you now have and the things that you all do.
Sure. Well, that was almost 24 years ago that I met that little girl. And yes, things changed like a whirlwind. And I went through a lot of ups and downs personally, trying to figure out what to do in my life and how to make something that was just an idea, a germ, real. And I had no clue. I was so immersed in my workaholic, life that I thought was everything. Mm-hmm. So over time, thankfully, with a lot of support and a lot of soul searching, Pajama Program is what I named it. And we have grown thanks to so many people who, when they heard that story, they felt that little girl's pain and loneliness and wanted to help. We now have over 40 chapters across the US. We are 22 and a half years old. And we've given more than 7.5 million pajamas and books to children across the US. And after 20 years of running the day-to-day as executive director, I passed that baton a few years ago to the woman who was president of our board at one point, who said to me, Jen, if you ever do want to go out and speak and inspire other people and write your book, please consider me to take the reins of executive directorship. So she did, and she's doing a great job. And she's added a component that's really needed. It's actually needed for all of us on the importance of bedtime, sleep, but that peaceful winding down for especially these children who've been through trauma, and their caregivers and some of their family, if they're living with a family member. It's not been an easy road. And the importance of bedtime is key to the next day, and our motto is good night for good day. And that's just a beautiful new part of our program.
That is definitely beautiful. I need you to come over here and talk to my son, by the way. He is terrible. He is terrible. Definitely needs that good night and good day experience. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about principles. So this particular season, we're focusing on Ray Dalio's book, Principles, and we're doing this for an entire year. And Ray is really big on principles, and he states that they really are the driving force to our success. I want to understand, what principles did you lean on to make the transition from the corporate life into a not-for-profit? And then help me to understand the principles that you've helped or you've created to help others or to inspire others to take this very similar journey that you've been on.
Well, I think I learned new principles because I was a different leader than the bosses I had. I had bosses, and I learned, and I look back and I say, I wanted to be a leader, a different type of a boss. And I wanted to lead with my heart, which is what I did without consciously doing it, because I had that experience with that little girl. That wasn't a strategic move. That wasn't a move that I contemplated in my head. That was a rare moment where I was confronted with, yes, a little girl and her question that really rocked my world, but also with me, my inner calling, my purpose, which I never thought about finding my purpose. We weren't taught that growing up, or when we were looking for a job, it was get a job. So I followed my heart in building Pajama Program. I didn't make a conscious decision, but it was the only thing that led me, and I let it lead me. Yes, I was worried that it was different, that I wasn't thinking through everything first the way I would in a job that I had learned. I was going on my instincts, on my heart, on what felt right, on what my North Star now was in making this program as good as it could be, as helpful, as loving, as nurturing as it could be for the children. So it wasn't about the money, and it wasn't about success. It certainly wasn't about what other people thought, because I had people telling me I was crazy. It was all about that heart, number one, that North Star that I decided would be my North Star. What can I do to make more of these children feel loved and comforted at their most vulnerable time, bedtime? I had to come to terms with asking for help. So I say that's always in my top what to do's. Ask for help, because we're all afraid to do it. And I don't know why. It took me a long time to just, because I had no choice. I had to ask for help to realize people wanted to help. I wasn't as dumb as I thought. It wasn't as embarrassing as I thought it would be to tell people I'm going to switch from being a corporate executive to bringing pajamas and books to these children. When I first said that to myself, I said, oh, how humiliating. What are people going to think of me throwing away everything and not even thinking about paying my mortgage? I had a mortgage. But we all want to feel now more than ever. And that's what I found. I found that the heart, the North Star, the asking for help, gives us an opportunity to feel life, to feel each other, to feel ourselves. And I think that's been missing.
Right. Yes, that is definitely a very, very good point. Making sure that it does come from the heart. I think if you don't have it from the heart, if you don't have it from the heart, it won't sustain you. I think it always has to start there. So that is a very, very good point. Asking for help. That is so critical. I think about the times when I transitioned. I was in corporate like you, but I transitioned into the health industry. What did I know about the health industry?
Mm.
I had no other than I worked out every day. So I guess that was my saving grace that at least I knew equipment, but yes, being able to ask for help when you're doing that transition is so big. I love that you leveraged your heart as your North Star. It's kept listening to it to keep things going, to keep things viable, especially when it gets tough, right? When it gets
Yeah.
tough
Yeah.
and people are saying, oh, no, you went the wrong direction, girl. You just keep
Mhm.
leveraging and leaning on that. So I'm happy to hear about that.
I think that's important for all leaders to
Mhm.
lead from their heart, unless they're leading robots. If you're leading people, I
Yes.
think that's so important. So important. Yes, you have to make strategic decisions. Yes, you have to use your head,
Mhm.
but I think you have to lead with your heart.
Yeah, because that, and you will better understand the impact that you're making when you
Yeah.
lead from or you'll think or be more thoughtful about, okay, I'm going in this direction. What will be the impact? And you'll take a more holistic approach.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Fantastic. So you shared with us some principles. And I want to ask you, I'm going to back up a little bit, and I didn't ask this. I wanted to ask this before. When you were first venturing into your career into the TV industry, you stated your principles changed. How different were they? Were you not leading with your heart when you went into that, or was that more, because I know I heard you earlier share just it was you were just driven because you felt like that was the kind of the thing to do, to be in the man's world and have this top-notch career. I guess
Yes, I would say,
those led you into that direction.
yeah, it wasn't as heartfelt. I'd like to think that I've always been a heartfelt person, but I didn't bring it to work. I
Mm,
was enthusiastic. I was creative. I found unique solutions. I enjoyed it. I had fun,
okay.
but it was a very different um, attempt at success.
Mm,
When I was thinking about success for Pajama Program, I was thinking about the children and how many children we could reach and how many pairs of pajamas and books could we get out every day. And that was because just that thought filled my heart.
mhm,
And when I would make decisions in my corporate career, I didn't I didn't go to my heart for the answer. I didn't feel it there. I felt it more of a superficial excitement that a goal was reached. It
mhm.
was very different. It wasn't such a peaceful, purposeful feeling that I had with Pajama Program. It was more of a status excitement to impress other people and impress myself that I could be that creative, or I could get to the next level. It was very different. It was very different. But I hate to say I wasn't a loving person. I hope I was. I think I still am. But it was a different approach to
Okay.
what I wanted to do. How's that?
Yes, that works.
Okay.
Fantastic. So right now, the pajama program, is it an international program?
At times during certain crises and certain reasons, we've extended, if we could, outside the US. But primarily, I designed it for US because of the legal and financial,
Mhm.
complications of taking it bigger. I started it for my community,
Right.
never imagining it would grow. So as it did,
Mhm.
um, I felt more comfortable understanding the legal and the financial complexities in the US. I
Mhm.
never wanted to do anything wrong. And I know over the years, when I was the executive director, I would talk to people who called from other countries and suggest they do something like this. Just we couldn't be their head office.
Okay.
But I would encourage everyone, if they like the idea, to do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, and I wanted to share that you're a TED Talk speaker, and I had an opportunity to review your TED Talk. And in your TED Talk, you talked about this particular initiative, and I was bawling. I really was. It was one that was very touching. You shared the very similar story. I believe it was a little bit more robust, but it really touched me. And I'll tell you why that it touched me is when I lived in West Africa. I lived in Senegal. Very similar. They did not have pajamas. Children did not have pajamas, and they didn't have shoes. And this was more of the Taliban kids that were on the street. And so the reason why I was asking about that international component was because it would be great if there was similar programs that occurred internationally. So that's what was one of the reasons I was bawling, because it touched me. I remember being on the streets and purchasing shoes for the children that would come and ask me for money and things of that nature. So I truly love this story. But so even though you are not internationally, you have a book. You had shared one of your books is Purpose, Passion, and Pajamas, which is a 5 times award-winning bestseller. And you just released another book that really helps to inspire and encourage others to do a very similar initiative. Can you talk to me a little bit about that book?
Sure. Because so many people over the years have asked me for advice and help on starting a nonprofit, which I think is wonderful. One of the few blessings that come from COVID is that people want to find purpose, and there are more people who want to fill a need they see, and things are touching them in a different way. So I did write Purpose, Passion, and Moxie because I've told everyone, not only do I love that word Moxie, but that's all I had. I didn't have a clue what to do, how to start anything. I was just, like I said, following my heart just to get more pajamas for these kids. And it grew because of the support, other people, not because of me. But I figured it out along the way with the help of some good people. And I talk about in the book how to do it with, if you have nothing but Moxie, like I did. There are some exercises in there that I want people to work through, some questions to ask themselves, and some places to go, and some ideas that I used that made it a little bit easier. So I thought if I could pass on the good and the bad of what I learned, the mistakes and what not to do and how to do it right, that it would be helpful to others. So I'm doing that, and I'm doing a webinar November 9th of the same thing, how to start a nonprofit with Purpose, Passion, and Moxie, for people to not feel alone. If they are thinking, I want to do this, I don't know the first thing, and I'm embarrassed to ask, you could ask me.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you so much for making yourself available so that folks could reach out. And this particular webinar, it's mostly focused US based.
Yes,
the
resources and things that lead you to, but the principles about fundraising and marketing and finding your audience and defining your niche, that is universal, I believe. Okay. So all of those are great takeaways for anybody living anywhere. And then the legalities would have to be, have to pertain to where you are living.
Okay. And then this particular webinar, the books, etc., can you share with our listeners where it can be found?
Yes, you can find everything on my website, which is my name, GenevievePiturro.com. You can see about the webinar, you can see about the work and the talks I do, the presentations, and however I can help you. I hope you find it there or you reach out to me.
Absolutely. Well, Genevieve, you have an amazing story, an amazing legacy that you are leaving with us, with our guests. I want to take this time to thank you so much for spending a few moments to share with us your passion, your joy, your story. All right. All right. You take good care. Thank you for joining us on Proactive is the Way.
Thank you, Toya. Thank you for letting me share.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I like Genevieve. You can feel her spirit.
I felt it.
But I just want to know, like, gosh, that made me want to know more, like, at what point, because some people can hear their purpose, right? And live in it, and other people. That's why it's such a blessing, like, when you do get that opportunity and you just like go for it, like, how did she find the strength to do that when, like on a job, you get so used to, your same routine. Every 2 weeks, I'm getting that same check. And then, just one day you're like, you know what? The check doesn't matter anymore. My heart is not in this, like,
Right.
oh, and I got a good story about that. But no, her story is extremely powerful. I mean, she has, well, I'm sure she knows the level of her impact.
Sure. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure she knows. And maybe I don't know, some people are able to start initiatives and they have not completely realized the impact that they really have. But when she said that about a kid not knowing about pajamas, imagine that little girl. She probably was like, well, why are they getting handed out stuff? All the things that was probably going through that child's mind because she didn't even know about pajamas.
Right.
You know what I think? I think as people, we take for granted, like, the things we think people ought to know, or the things that
something so simple.
Something so simple. And so that was powerful though, that she,
I said, and that was here in the US.
Yeah, like we're a third world country. We're a whole third world country.
Whole third world country in a developed country. So, it was very touching. I must say, with regards to this particular interview, it was so fun, Tiffany. And you alluded to it earlier, her spirit, man, it was one that you could truly feel. On top of that, with regards to her spirit, she was just so kind, that
yes,
and you can feel that. And when you feel that and can connect with someone on that level, I think it is so impactful. It is so powerful. So I was really happy that she took some time out to speak with me, and then of course share her background, share her legacy. And when we talk about that, because you've already shared kind of what you thought with regards to her the interview overall, when we talk about that, the legacy that she's leaving us, I think within each one of us, our goal is to leave a long lasting impact or impression on society, right? So during further conversations with Genevieve, she did share that the Pajama Program, she gave a couple of the principles along with the books she has written, serves as her legacy. Some people leave possessions, some people leave real estate, they have money, and oftentimes we miss the opportunity to better understand the impact they truly made because we are so jaded by the tangibles that we miss the intangibles, such as the standards that they upheld, that they leveraged to guide them in life, or that led them to newfound success. So I guess the question that I have for you is, if you had to think about your legacy, right? And if we focused on what did you want to leave, what principles would you want to leave as your legacy?
So if we remember, for our listeners that tuned in during our first season, we discussed principles, and I listed about 5 principles that there is no bargaining, that I don't bargain with. And just to recap, those were, being passionate and staying true. Taking time out for self-care. Surrounding myself with what I want to be. Others. So service to others, being a servant, thinking of others. That point about sharing knowledge. And then my fifth was stay in a position of learning. Keep developing. So.
Okay. Yeah. For myself, I had 5 that I shared. And folks, if you want to learn more about what each of those mean, we went into further detail. Season 1, episode 7. But my principles, my legacy, if you will, was focused on living in the present moment. However, never forget the past. Making sure that you take care of self first. I think that is so critical. Don't dwell on what you cannot control. Live in truth with a high regard of respect or love for yourself. And do not get vested in the way others perceive you. And then my last one was faith over fear. And I think someone said it, there might be a book written about it, but do it scared. Right? Do it scared, which is this podcast. We just kind of jumped into it. We didn't really have a background with regards to radio, podcasting, although we did an internship when we were children, didn't we? But, doing it scared. So having that faith over fear. Was there anything else that you would like to share?
About Genevieve's segment?
Yes.
Yeah. You know what I like that she said? First off, the title of her book is Unforgettable. You're not going to forget that. So gosh, what she had to say was just so powerful, but I just wanted to touch on a couple of things about when she was speaking about the heart, and how now what she has improved her life to, or how she changed her life through starting up a nonprofit. And I just think some key concepts that we don't realize that will ensure our success is one, like what she says, the heart and the love. Although her focus was around children, she spoke about nurturing, but that's huge. That concept of nurturing self, nurturing others, to accomplish your goals. I like the point she made about the North Star.
Yeah,
I thought that was powerful. And then what was really compelling for me was her making it a point to say, ask for help. Because again, that's another illusion, right? Like, we're made to believe that asking for help it has a negative connotation. And I believe that because people don't ask for help, or, but we could go into a whole nother thing. I just wanted to bring up those points about what she made. And I thought that everything that she is doing, how her story evolved, like what she thought her path and her journey was going to be, like not having children, but still now she has
millions,
national, a whole nation full
millions
that she has inspired, has had impact. But yes, what a great story. What a great woman.
Great story. All right. Coming up, the Tangential Mind. Today, we pay tribute to the late Susan Summers, who died this week of breast cancer. This month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I want to share some facts with you. Number one, breast cancer is the most common cancer in women worldwide. It was estimated that there were over 2.3 million new cases of breast cancer diagnosed globally. Breast cancer is a significant health concern for women. It is estimated that about 1 in 8 women will develop breast cancer in their lifetime. Breast cancer is a leading cause of cancer-related deaths among women. It has been responsible for over 685,000 deaths worldwide. We want to emphasize the importance of early detection. When breast cancer is detected at an early stage, the 5-year survival rate can exceed 90%. Regular mammograms and self-breast exams play a crucial role in early detection. While less common, it's important to note that men can also get breast cancer. And in the United States, an estimated 2,650 new cases of invasive breast cancer were expected to be diagnosed in men. The risk of developing breast cancer, it does increase with age, folks. Most breast cancers, they are diagnosed in women over 50, but it can affect younger women as well. If you would like to know more about the research and treatments for breast cancer, or would like to donate to the eradication of breast cancer, please visit the National Breast Cancer Foundation. The National Breast Cancer Foundation was founded by Janelle Hale. They have a very informative series about breast cancer called the Beyond the Shock series. Please visit www.nationalbreastcancer.org for more details. All right. Well, that's a wrap. Join us in 2 weeks when we discuss our first principle, own your story. When you take ownership, you become the CEO of your life. This principle came from Eric Thomas's book, You Owe You. Each one of us has a story to tell. And in our efforts to get better at creating our own story and leaving a legacy that will resonate and positively impact others, we need to know how to craft our story and then tell it. Next month, we will feature Choose Your Story, Change Your Life, Silence Your Inner Critic, and Rewrite Your Life from the Inside Out, and some passages from Stories That Stick by Kendra Hall. Kendra Hall is a keynote speaker and award-winning storyteller. She has been published at entrepreneur.com and inc.com and as a contributing editor to Success Magazine. She speaks for and works with brands of all sizes to help them harness the power of storytelling. It's so important, folks, that we get better at crafting and telling our stories. Most importantly, telling our story as it can serve as a guide to others. Your plight in life is no mistake. You are a key. In Stories That Stick, Kendra asks the age-old question: if a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? She shares, if you find your story and put the effort into crafting it, but you never tell it, does it even matter? No. She believes that knowledge is not power. It's just wasted brain space if you never actually tell your story. In preparation for our discussions, we have included in the description where you can pick up a copy of our featured books for next month. Our main book that we'll focus on is Choose Your Story, Change Your Life. And we'll also touch a little bit on Stories That Stick by Kendra Hall and You Owe You by Eric Thomas. To access all replays or learn more about Kinky Knots Cafe, Proactive is the Way, please visit www.kinkyknotscafe.com. Proactive is the way, my friends. Take good care.